Welcome to ENT student for discussion on anatomy of temporal bone. As you could see here, so we want to go based on the requirement. So temporal bone is a fascinating structure. It's an intricate one, a complex structure. It is a three-dimensional one that is needed to understand this one for the interrelationships of the components, and it's a important tough task. For an otologist, a three-dimensional grasp is needed for that. So to understand the pathophysiology of diagnosis and management. Pinna, if you take, it acts as a localization of sound and focus of sound. So focus and localization of the sound. So when we take that, there is a variability in between individuals and it's a multi-component in embryonic origin. Constant features are there, of course. It is determined by elastic cartilaginous frame. So lateral surface of the pinna has got lot of concavities, as we know that. So helix, antihelix, tragus, antitragus. This is the tragus and this is the crus of the helix, as you know. This is the triangular fossa. The skin of the lateral and medial surfaces has sebaceous glands and sudoriferous glands. Both sebaceous glands and pseudofibrous glands are present, but the attachment differs for the skin and it is tightly bound. As we know, it is tightly bound on the lateral aspect. Laterally, it is very tight and loosely on the medial aspect. So, this is the lateral aspect of the skin. If you go medial to this, it is loosely bound. So, these are the components wherein you could see the helix. This is the antihelix. So, this is the helix and this is the antihelix. This is the spina helicis and this is the conchal ball, popularly called as conchal ball, as you know that. This is the tragal cartilage, as you know that, and this is the antitragus. As we know, here is the antitragus that is present, and this is the scaphoid fossa. The fossa that is just medial to this helix is called as scaphoid fossa, and this is fossa triangularis. This is a triangle shaped triangularis, and this is the isthmus region between antitragus and tragus. So tragus and antitragus, it has got something called as isthmus. The pinna is attached to the tympanic bone, the continuity which is called as external auditory canal. The pinna is attached to the tympanic bone. Where is the pinna attached? There is something called as tympanic bone, which you know like this. It is attached to the tympanic bone, and the continuity is the cartilaginous EAC. So as you know, this is the tympanic bone. The continuity will be the cartilaginous external auditory canal. Otherwise, pinna is loosely attached by connective tissues, ligaments, and three extrinsic and six intrinsic muscles. Three extrinsic muscles and six intrinsic muscles. Three extrinsic muscles and six intrinsic muscles. A branch of the facial nerve called as posterior auricular nerve innervates the intrinsic muscles. So six intrinsic muscles is innervated by seventh cranial nerve, that is posterior auricular nerve. Posterior auricular nerve, and it is poorly developed. So intrinsic muscles of the pinna are poorly developed. Intrinsic muscles of the pinna are poorly developed, which is supplied by posterior auricular nerve. Posterior auricular nerve. When you take the external auditory canal, so we can just say the lateral one third of the EAC. So lateral one third of the EAC, outer one third of the EAC is the cartilage and is deficient superiorly at the incisura terminalis. So incisura terminalis, if you take the cartilage, it is not complete and it is incisura terminalis over here. You can see in this particular one. This is the incisura terminalis. So spina helicis is this one at the end of the helix, and this is the tragus. Tragus and crus of the helix, you can have the incisura terminalis. This is the incisura terminalis. Incisura terminalis. Incisura terminalis. This is called as incisura terminalis. This is the isthmus region between tragus and antitragus. And then extra cartilaginous endoral incision for this gap can be given. In this incisura, you can give the endoral incision. Endoral incision. Endoral. You can remember this endoral incision. And there are 2 or 3 perforations in the anterior aspect of the cartilaginous canal. Perforations in the anterior aspect of the cartilaginous canal, they are called as fissures of Santorini. So anterior aspect of the cartilaginous canal, if you take this cartilaginous canal from superior view, you are seeing the anterior aspect has got something called as fissures of Santorini. They are called as fissures of Santorini. Fissures of Santorini. Fissures of Santorini. To help in the spread of infection from ear to parotid. Fissures of Santorini, ears to parotid. The isthmus is the narrowest portion, lies medial to the junction of bony and cartilaginous canals. So the isthmus is nothing but, for example, this is the cartilaginous canal and this is the bony canal, which is 2/3. Cartilaginous canal is 1/3. This is cartilage, this is the bone. This particular bridge-like structure is called, this is the tympanic membrane, of course. This is called the isthmus at the junction of this bony cartilaginous canals. The skin of the canal has subcutaneous layer replete with hair follicles and sebaceous glands. Replete means lot of things are there. So lot of subcutaneous hair follicles, number one. Number two is sebaceous glands. Hair follicles and sebaceous glands. EAC, at least especially the cartilaginous part, has got hair follicles and sebaceous glands. The skin of the bony canal is very thin and subcutaneous layer is without these adnexal structures. So bony EAC, so cartilaginous EAC is this much, 1/3, and bony EAC is this much, 2/3. Here there are hairs and here there are no hairs, very thin. Skin is very thin, of course, to be depicted like this. Here the skin is thick and lot of adnexal. The absence of hair in the bony EAC, there is absence of hair. They distinguish the bony and cartilaginous canals. They distinguish the bony and cartilaginous canals. The auriculotemporal branch of the trigeminal nerve. So trigeminal nerve, ophthalmic maxillary mandibular division. So maxillary division which is giving the auriculotemporal branch of the trigeminal nerve, number one, and greater auricular branch of C3 and lesser occipital branch of C2 and C3 and auricular branch of vagus, Arnold's nerve. So one is auriculotemporal nerve, number two is greater auricular nerve, number three is auricular branch of vagus. All these things are going to supply this particular external auditory canal. So when you take it, anteriorly is the auriculotemporal nerve, posteriorly is the vagus related to Arnold's. You can just remember that 5 and 10, just simply that. Okay, posterior superiorly will be your seventh nerve, as you could see. Arnold's nerve is the auricular branch of vagus. This is nothing but auricular branch of vagus and twigs from the facial nerve. All these contribute to the sensory innervation of the pinna and EAC. You could understand in this. So this is the posterior auricular nerve, seventh motor posterior auricular nerve, and this is the lesser occipital nerve, and this is the greater auricular nerve. So greater auricular nerve, and this is occipital nerve. As you know, greater auricular nerve is just below the pinna, as you could see here. It is more important during the parotidectomy surgeries. And this is the lesser occipital nerve. And this is the posterior auricular nerve, a branch of facial nerve. This is seventh cranial nerve, and this is C2, C3, and greater auricular. This is greater auricular nerve, which is related to C3. So once again, same thing. So at this point, posterior superiorly is the seventh cranial nerve. So how is Hitzelberger sign? As you could see in acoustic neuromas, loss of sensation posterior superiorly. So this is the right ear, as you could see. Anteriorly is the auriculotemporal nerve, inferiorly is the vagus nerve, posteriorly is C2, C3, as you could see here. So this is the supply of our external aortic canal. So how do you attain the local anesthesia here? By putting 2% lignocaine in the post-auricular region, the infiltration of cartilaginous canal. Cartilaginous canal has to be infiltrated in 4 quadrants, that is like 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock positions. So as you know that this is the 10 o'clock position, this is the 2 o'clock position, this is the 8 o'clock position, this is the 4 o'clock position. 10, 2, 4 and 8. So this is a technique wherein you have to infiltrate for this local anesthesia the external artery canal. 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock. As simple as that. So bony canal infiltration, there will be a bleb formation. You have to avoid it carefully. You have to give it. If done properly, the skin of the bony EAC outlines the two sutures, that is tympanomastoid suture and tympanosquamous suture, which are the landmarks for vascular strip. So this will be the mastoid bone. This is the squamous bone related. So tympanomastoid suture, tympanosquamous suture. So which will be the landmarks for your vascular strip incisions. Vascular strip incisions that you should be keeping in mind. Keeping in mind. So this we enter the vascular supply of the ear, external artery canal, that is external carotid artery number 1 and posterior auricular artery number 2 and superficial temporal artery. So two branches of external carotid artery, posterior auricular artery and superficial temporal artery. So as you know, external carotid artery has got totally 8 branches, out of which posterior auricular artery is very important and superficial temporal artery are very important. So posterior auricular artery, PASTA, you can remember as PASTA, posterior auricular artery and superficial temporal artery. This posterior auricular artery, it comes superiorly on the mastoid portion of the temporal bone. It supplies the skin of pinna. It supplies the bone of the mastoid and the stylomastoid branch. That is, you can just remember stylomastoid artery of the posterior auricular artery. It supplies the inferior segment of the facial nerve. It supplies the facial nerve. So it supplies the facial nerve. You can say inferior segment of the facial nerve. You can just remember as MAPA. Stylomastoid branch of posterior auricular artery supplies the facial nerve. Anteriorly, few tweaks of the superficial temporal. Second one is the superficial temporal artery. They provide supply to the pinna and external artery canal. Superficial temporal artery. What is the blood supply? Mainly is the superficial temporal artery and posterior auricular artery. As you know that posterior auricular artery. Posterior auricular artery we have seen the skin of pinna and mastoid and also the facial nerve. So veins, they accompany the arteries and they go and join the internal jugular vein and either facial vein or external jugular vein. So into the internal jugular vein by either facial vein number 1, external jugular vein. So either facial vein drains into the internal jugular vein or external jugular vein drains into the internal jugular vein. They go towards the facial vein. So based on this, we have completed the basic of the external auditory canal. Thank you very much for watching ENT student.